Correct.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to create is a direct shoot towards you.
Okay.
So because he's overstimulated, him overshooting it, not the ordinary, is you would pivot and you keep remoting that whole time until he lands or until he locks on.
Okay.
Okay. If it keeps happening, then we got to bump the number.
Okay.
And then do you remember what your number was?
To get him to return, it was 16.
16? Okay. I would probably go up in bumps of like 5 or so, 4 to 5 in a number.
Okay.
Because you're trying to maintain the play and not kill the play drive, but still get him to return.
Yeah.
At the same time, not wanting to do it a million times.
Yeah.
It should be pretty instantaneous.
Okay.
Now, what you might find is if you overhit by accident, you're going to see him dip in play. I can ignore him, and he'll recover. It might take, it might be within that same day, it might be in a couple of days. I just keep exposing him.
Okay.
But if you try to press it, like, go play, buddy, go play, he's gonna stick to you even more.
Okay.
Okay? Good. Anything else?
The break command. So we went on a walk with a dog he had yet to meet. And anytime I spoke, he took it as break. But like outside of that, when we just kind of go on our own walks, when we're around people and dogs he's familiar with, that word is what activates it. But anytime I open my mouth, he would break.
I'm sorry, what was the context again?
He was a new dog, and it was on a new trail. It was a new
Gotcha.
location.
He was overstimulated, for sure. Okay, so that's just higher number.
Okay.
Real simple. As soon as he, like, let's say you have a conversation, you open your mouth, he breaks, and you're on 16, 32, pop, boom, boom.
Okay.
And then you talk,
Okay.
nothing. It's just a number.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yours is a little bit different than what I typically get. Most people would be, I went to a trail, it was a new trail, and my dog wouldn't heel, period. And I go, okay, raise the number, because it's just so much going on that you have to contend with now.
Yeah.
In that case, there was a lot going on that he just assumed whenever you said something, because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to just go, so I'm going to assume every time you talk, I'm going to just break, right? I just pop him at a higher number, get that in his head, and it should be a real quick fix.
Solid.
Anytime he struggles with either listening in a new setting or is prematurely breaking the stuff, it's almost always just bump that number.
Okay.
That one I go higher, faster, because I don't want to have to deal with him breaking repeatedly over the course of 10 minutes. The other one is we don't want to kill play drive. We're trying to keep that, but practice recall. So that's why we do that in lower increments.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
More so just a question for your expertise. I do start work in 2 weeks, and so I want to try and get him into like maybe a day or two of dog care. Would you recommend, like, is he there yet, or is that kind of vibe it out and see what happens?
You mean like a dog daycare?
Yeah.
Depends on the daycare.
Okay.
Every place is different.
Okay.
Prior to my facility, there was only one place I would recommend here, and they're just northwest east of us, because you're coming from Oak Park.
Yeah.
It's really like, do your research.
Okay.
It could be that they just throw him in a room and he's great, or it could be they don't know what they're doing and he's great, and then something happens and they're like, you need to keep him out.
Yeah.
I don't really take what daycare say or groomers say, or anybody really that's not structured. I always take it with a grain of salt. It's like I've gotten dogs like, oh, the dog went to daycare for 2 years and they bit a dog and they got kicked out. They think their dog's aggressive and stuff, and they want to fix it so they can go back to daycare. I'm like, 2 years, like, come on, like, I'm sure that, something happened or whatever. They're dogs. People get in arguments at bars and at restaurants and at the park and all that stuff, but we don't bite each other.
Right.
So it's really just play it by ear.
Okay.
I think you've made a lot of great progress. I would just do some research.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be pressed on sending him to daycare because you think it's good for him.
Okay.
I think it's probably just making you feel better.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be gone,
Right.
and you feel bad that you're gone. He's not
Right.
getting that out anymore. You don't care.
Okay.
Okay. Dogs sleep 16 hours a day.
Okay.
Okay. So for 9 of those hours, you'd be at work.
Right.
So it's a really personal preference.
Okay.
That's
a relief.
Yeah.
That, so that's good to hear.
Yeah. Typically, when people send their dogs to daycare, it's the guilt factor.
Yeah.
And I will do it because you want to do it.
Okay.
I don't, obviously I have a daycare business, so I'm not dissuading people.
Right.
But I say do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you feel bad because you think the dog needs it.
Okay.
What he needs is a full belly water, chance to use the bathroom, and a roof over his head.
Okay.
That's what dogs would have if they were to be wild.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So he's got that and then some.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
daycare is just
Yeah.
kind of the icing on the cake there. Okay?
Okay.
But yeah,
Cool.
do some, I'm not sure if anybody else, unfortunately, that's structured if you'd like to try to keep things,
Yeah.
how do you say, on the same page. But I've had people, dogs very similar, and their dog goes to daycare, but is leash reactive, but it's great at daycare.
Okay.
We have, I think, about 2 or 3 clients. One actually lives a block from here, same thing. Their dog was very human and dog reactive, goes to daycare and is great at daycare.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, so I would say do it because you want to, don't do it because you think it's going to help him or
Okay.
because he needs it.
Okay. Cool.
Anything else?
No. I think we're good.
So we've covered, we did both classes on the recall, right?
We did one on the lead recall. That was the last time I saw you.
So have we done 3 or 4 classes?
We've done 3. This
We've
will
done
be
3.
4. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to work on the second part of recall. Gotcha. So we're going to walk over here.
So much more accessible just to get in here in the park. It's crazy.
It wasn't too bad on the weekend either.
Yeah.
But you see how they blocked off those
Yeah,
streets right there?
yeah.
I think there was more parking over there, and because it's closed to through traffic, whatever. Because I noticed once those went up, it was much harder to find parking. But yeah, and then and they cleaned the street today, so this was like all
Okay.
open.
Perfect.
Oh, you have your long leash with you?
I did not bring it.
All right, so I got mine. That thing's been there since Saturday. Brianna put it there,
All right.
the trainer. Yeah.
Same concept.
Yeah, I'm gonna just have you. I know you weren't able to. Well, you said with the leash on, he wasn't doing anything, right?
There needs to be some type of correct. If the leash is on, he rarely will run from me.
What we'll do is just I'll see how you remember it. We're gonna add a couple of tweaks to it today,
Okay.
and then go from there. This. Alrighty. You know what's going on. And then you're using the word now, right?
Yeah. What's my cue to you though?
You could just say Gilmore, come.
And you, sorry for you to know that to drop it. Same thing.
When you say come, I'll let it go. He's already out. Super intense. Yeah.
Gilmore, come.
Good.
Okay. Break.
Right.
And even on walks, this is what happens unless there's like a tree or something.
Sure. Hold on one sec.
Gilmore, break.
What was that, Gilmore? Jesus, did you see that?
Through the air.
You said Gilmore break. Instead of come.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm just like, you just left up and
Woo!
what the hell was that?
That was great.
Funny. Okay.
Break.
Do one more.
Break. Gilmore, come.
Yep. There you go.
No flight this time.
What's up?
No flight.
I know. Did you get your leg?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say too with the muzzle because it goes so fast. So his speed is really good. Okay. Now one thing is he's very anxious.
Very.
Okay. Do you have any idea why?
Is it the muzzle?
I don't think so. I feel like
Or
he's.
is it just his association with this area?
I think he's getting it. It's not like a bad anxious. It's like, so when I showed up, or when you walked up, and I was like, oh hi, like he was like
Yeah.
already learning who I am,
Yeah.
or has become accustomed to me.
Yeah.
That he wanted to move forward more so out of overstimulation and excitement.
Yeah.
Like, oh hey Jesse, right? And I feel like all that overstimulation is leading to him to just be a bit anxious.
Okay.
Have you seen that like elsewhere, that behavior?
When he gets, anytime I put the muzzle on him, but it usually doesn't last this long. Honestly, it's usually the muzzle. He doesn't want it on.
Okay.
I walk him. He does his business. It's like a 2-minute thing, and then he'll calm down.
Okay. So you're thinking it is the muzzle, because from what you've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're correct if you've noticed that in the past, maybe he's just not resolving it, or he's not like, because most of my dogs, when they see me, they're like, oh crap, it's training time because it's an hour of discipline, and it really kind of, I feel like he's more relaxed,
Right.
and he's kind of being more himself, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just that overstimulation very quickly can shift into reactivity.
Okay.
So I just keep an eye on it.
Okay.
I mean, if you're comfortable with it and you want to remove his muzzle, make it easier for you, that's fine. Otherwise, if you don't mind it, you can leave it on.
I'll leave it on for this.
Okay, for sure.
Just in the event.
Okay. So what we're gonna do here is, all that was good. I like his speed.
Okay.
I like the rocket. You know, it was funny. That
Should
doesn't
I
have to always happen.
okay, so like 1, 2, 3, and then just let him.
Let him do the rest, right? Now, because my pit had a similar recall where she'd be a speeding tank
Okay.
and to like tackle me.
Yeah.
When you do your practice with them, or when you've done your practice with them, is it problematic in any way the way he comes to you?
No. It's usually on my right hand side.
Okay.
And he'll overshoot it by like 2 feet. We pivot and then
He'll come in.
Yeah.
Okay. If it does happen where it's becoming a problem, like maybe it's too direct and he's like tackling into you, what I would do then is incorporate food and then just have my hand down for a target, and you just keep always feeding to the side, and then the recall becomes targeted here, and then you can remove the food. Right? And then he just gets conditioned of always on this side, but it doesn't seem like you're gonna have that problem. Okay? So if you call Gilmore and he speeds to you, he returns to you, that's all great. If you were to move without any other command, like like this or whatever, what do you think Gilmore should do?
Follow.
Correct. So there's more to this command than just a return. There's the implied like stay with the body, and we're going to cover that today. Okay. So the reason for this is for a couple of reasons. One, it really cements when I call you, don't leave me. Okay. So like let's say you're at the trail, there's rabbits or squirrels, whatever, and you call him off a chasing one, and he comes to you. A lot of times the dogs will go right back to the chase. So when we add this extra layer of like you can't leave my side, or the like cementing, you stick to me until I give you permission, prevents that from happening. Okay. The other part of it, it helps us because it helps us to force mistakes. That mistake is he gets confused when I remote him, like if he doesn't respond correctly, and it's going to make him shoot off. Okay. So if that happens and I move to the side, Gilmore doesn't move, I remote him. He should move to me, but if he gets confused and moves away, you would start remoting and then turn to face him and move backwards. Okay? So you go back to like what you do if you overshot it. You wouldn't call him again. Okay? Because it's all tied to the first recall. So what you're teaching him is, I call you, get your butt here, stay with me. If I move, you better stick to me. Don't try to run off, because this is going to happen automatically. Okay? So this way, if he ever gets confused in the future and he's completely off leash, you've already worked through it in a controlled context. Okay, that's the main thing. When it comes to obedience, the approach is like, if life is great and nothing's going wrong, your obedience is going to be fine. But that's not really when you need it to work. When you need it to work is when shit's going down, and that's what we're trying to prep for. Okay, so what we're going to do here is you'll do a recall just like you did. Gilmore's going to land. If he overshoots it, you'll correct it like you have been. You're gonna wait. You're gonna let him settle first. Let him put that butt down first. Once he puts that butt down, you can move in any direction, but forward like. Okay. So Gilmore, question.
Forward like meaning I'm facing him, so I'm pedaling backwards.
Backwards,
Okay.
or you can move directly to the side.
Okay.
So like Gilmore right now, he's on your left. I wouldn't want to go like this.
Okay.
Why?
Because he's going to think that's heel.
Correct, right? So he's default heeling, or I wouldn't want to go like this because it's still forward leg. So he might again default heel.
Okay.
So if I make it very awkward and I go backwards, angled, or to the side, any direction, he doesn't know how to heel with that.
Okay.
So if I move to the side, he might turn in to move with me. I don't need it to look a specific way. Okay, he's not walking sideways with us.
Yeah.
He's keeping on the body.
Okay.
Once you come to a stop, you let him settle. Wait a moment, then you'll move again.
Remote.
Right, if needed. So if he moves with you, we don't do anything.
Got it.
Okay. If you move and there's like a delay, and then you tap him to come to you or to move with you, you want to kick in as soon as possible, ideally. Okay, because if you kick in like 2 seconds afterwards, you're going to create that 2-second delay, where you'll move away and he'll sit there, and then he'll move to follow you.
Okay. So
Ideally,
that should be pretty fluid. I start moving, he starts moving.
it should be immediate, right? So like even like right there when you went like this, it should have been whoop. Okay. So once you get the hang of it, it'll make a lot more sense. Questions?
Nope.
Right,
That makes
sure.
sense. Okay, break.
Sure, bud.
Gilmore, come.
Good. Fine. And try backwards here. Good. And break.
Break.
Very good. We'll try that one more time.
Should I praise him after me?
At the end, on the last one, you can praise. So you see how he gets super edgy?
Yeah.
This is the anxiety.
So is it he knows what's coming, or
Yeah.
he's being removed from?
For me, this is more so he's anticipating.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here.
Should I leave it at the number and tag him?
Yeah, what we're gonna do here is when he starts to do that, I'll tell you tap, and I'm gonna pull up just to settle his nerves a bit. Okay. Whenever I work with like anxious type dogs, this is super common because they're anticipating and they just want to beat the punch, and they're like a lot of bucking around.
Yeah.
So that's why if you're working with someone, I try to put a gap between the recalls. So like right now, I've been talking for like 45 seconds, right? And it's letting them settle. Like, oh, it's not going to be immediately once Jesse stops. Like there's a bit of a time frame to come. So I okay.
Gilmore, come.
Very good. Good. Break, break, break.
Break.
Two more. It could be attachment as well, but I'm gonna enable it on the. Wait a moment, let him settle.
Is that position something that like anxious dogs train?
What's it, in between the legs?
Yeah. Is there like a security thing?
It doesn't always happen.
Okay.
I think it's more so he's just wanting to, like there's nothing closer than this.
Right.
you know. And when we do the recall stuff, there's a lot of stick to me. So like, one drawback to this is, let's say Gilmore is past me, and you call him. A lot of times the dog will run to this person because they're closer.
Got it.
Okay. And then if you try to remote them to get them to come to you, they'll like do this or they'll climb on the person because they're trying to get closer. Okay. So, because I have other cases right now that are similar personality, and they do the forging thing, but they don't do like the in between. Because like,
No more comments.
excellent. Get 3, 2, 1. Good.
No more comments.
Sneaky guy.
He's been pretty good too. So in my apartment building, there's some construction going on. So there's a lot of men that have been coming in and out of the building, and he's responding. So like when I say Gilmore, come, he'll run back to me.
Nice. Good. We're gonna do one more. Very good.
Great. Is it just an acquaintance thing? So like the more that he's around people,
Yeah. I mean, so some dogs, whatever, right? Hello to everybody.
yeah,
Just like there's people like that too. He's more like the, because in the times that I've seen him, today was the first time that I've seen him go like,
right, right.
and it's not uncommon. You know, I think, again, people really, they look at dogs like these completely friendly creatures, and if yours is not like that, something's wrong,
Yeah.
right? It's like, no, it's humans, there's a lot of different personality types.
Yeah.
So like, if you meet, like if at work, or if you're out, and you start talking to someone, you don't immediately just like best friends, like,
Right, right,
you
right.
know, let's go on a road trip together. Like, you see them multiple times, you have a lot of experiences,
Yeah.
that trust builds.
Okay.
Same thing for dogs.
Okay.
So that's why, like when dogs have issues with people coming over, like there's an exercise for that, and I'll tell them, don't worry about them, like immediately warming up to them. It might be a few visits before you see them go like, oh, I've seen you 100 times. Like,
Right.
okay, cool.
Right.
If they've already seen that person several times, but they just never got over the suspicion, once we do the exercise, they tend to turn on very quickly because they've already seen the person 100 times.
Sure.
They just
Okay.
never got over the suspicion part.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Gilmore, come.
Yep. Right, good. Very good. So go ahead here and just let you go slack and then heel.
Heel. Stop him.
Yeah. Very good. So, we're gonna let him take a break and run process all that thing. Very simple concept, right? So now, like when you do your recall, like when he's playing with that dog, this would be a great exercise. Okay. What I would suspect would happen, you call him, he does a return, and I'll even wait a little bit to really tempt them on, do you want to go back? And then when you go to step away, if you remote him, if he's wanting to go play with the dog, it'll most likely make him go forward to the dog to go play. Okay.
So how do you alleviate that?
So one, if he's got the leash on, that'd help. because then you have something to redirect him.
Okay.
Otherwise, if he doesn't have the leash on, it can get kind of ugly.
Okay.
Because then, are you in an enclosed area?
Yes.
You are. Okay, cool. So, because you're in an enclosed area, I'm not worried about is the dog going to run away. Okay. So if he does that premature break and I'm remoting him, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I'm going up there and right all over the place, you have to force the return. Okay. So that's why I said it might get really ugly, right? And then finally, like, he's just like, whatever I'm doing isn't working, let me run back to mom.
Okay.
Boom, there he is, right?
Okay.
Now, if you get that done, in my experience, like, it's a really tough learning moment, but it creates excellent recall.
Okay.
Because the dog's like, holy shit, I don't want to do that again.
Ever again.
Okay? But it's difficult for the owner emotionally, and not just that, but also environment-wise, your neighbors are coming out like, what's going on?
Trying
Right?
to like explain it to the others.
Yeah, so that's why we do it this way. You know, we can still get the same, the same level of obedience. It's just take a little bit longer because we're going with the leash and everything. But that would allow you to direct him without having to go to 127 if needed, and forcing that return. Okay. So the pro of if you did that is that's what preps you for life. Like, I've only had it happen a couple of times. I remember I had it once in South Loop in Grant Park. It's like actually one of my first clients, if not my first client. We were talking, and the dog was resting. We were in the shade, and he just got up and booked it towards Michigan. And we were about, like, from here to there, to Larrabee. And everybody was like running for the dog, and I'm just sitting there with the remote, and I just jacked it up, and the dog was right as it's yelling and like running towards Michigan, and we got the return. And everybody was like, oh. But I was like, I think what happened was he got too hot and just said deuces. Like that, because he lived across the street. They were, so that's my only. I was like, he was doing fine. We were talking for 5 minutes. It was a hot day, but we were in the shade, and I was like, that's the only thing I could think of. But I had to force the return. Everybody went to running, and I went to the remote, and we were at 100 or whatever, and that dog was yipping and barking all the way. But it's an emergency setting, right? Because
so let's say the dog turns, right? He's barking. If you see the dog coming towards you, keep hitting it, or you're done.
You're done, right? Because that's what you're doing is you're saying wrong decision, right? And then I'm keeping that pressure on. And I think I did 100 continuous. So it was, because I was remoting and then up or continuous. The dog, so continuous will make a dog spiral.
That's the bottom one, yes?
Yes. Okay. So what happens is it's a continuous contraction for up to 12 seconds. So if you're maxed out in the collar, a lot of times the contraction is so strong that if the collar's here, you'll see the dog and they'll start spinning. Okay. And then when you let it go, the hit has to go somewhere. So like if there's something nearby, they might snap at it because it's the discomfort, the pain has to go somewhere. And then you see what happens next. And then he kept going, and it was continuous again, and then let it go, and then he kept going, and it was continuous again, and then finally when I let go, he just 180'd back to us. So I've only had to do that maybe like less than 10 times in the first 10 years. A couple times for recall, but most of the time for regression. And it's the same concept. The dog goes to attack, I'm maxed out, and that's not the answer, but at that moment it was the answer. I just want to make you think that you have to do that. And then it's the same process, and it's like typically in my experience, it's by the third time the dog's going to cut it out. They're either going to change directions or they're going to cut the aggression. But the other thing that continuous does, if the dog is spiraling, it gives you time to keep him still for 12 seconds while you get over there. And then you let it go, and you can hit it again. Don't be surprised if there's piss and shit all over the place because of the discomfort, but that's the emergency thing. Clients that have told me that they've had to use it, it's the blast and the dog will just return. But that's like the emergency function. That's why I try to get condition everybody to use the remote as much as possible, because in that moment,
he then knows that he's doing something wrong, and that's why
not so much wrong, like human wrong, but like you don't want to go that way because this is happening, right? So that's why all this conditioning is so important with the heel and the recall stuff, because if anything, if he feels the remote, his instinct should be, you know what? Let me just go to mom.
Okay.
Right? That's like if a dog makes a mistake on the remote, I always would rather have the dog choose to return to the owner because that's typically when people have needed to use it.
Yeah.
It's either stopping something, like the dog's being aggressive or reactive, or my dog was running away.
Okay.
Those are the most common times that my clients are like, I had to 127 continuous my dog to get them to return, you know.
Okay.
So, but expect it to be pretty ugly.
Okay.
The other thing that I do is I'll tell the owner, like, once you've done the recall stuff, towards the end of it, you'll go out and, you know, Gilmore being Gilmore. 30 minutes in, I'll just cap the collar and give a quick, like, either tap on 127 or a quick continuous hit and go, what are you gonna do?
Okay.
Right? And then if he runs straight back to you, beautiful.
Got it.
And we like leave it alone. And then like 8 months later, I do it again.
Okay.
Right? To just kind of test it, make sure that it's still functioning, if you will.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, like, let's say you do that, and maybe he doesn't run to you. Maybe he runs away. Now you can work him through it, make him return, and now you've taught him something in the controlled setting. The other thing is you're going to be very uncomfortable doing it, right? Because you know you're planning for it, you're like, oh, this is going to suck. So emotionally, it gets the owner kind of ready for that in a real life scenario where it's like, crap, my dog's running away. I have to cap it, you know, and he's already got familiarity with it. And he's like, oh shit, I felt this before. This is what I had to do. So, okay?
Okay.
Very good. Questions about any of that stuff?
No, so you mentioned reactivity. With other dogs now on walks, what he'll do is he'll see him and then it's like eyes straight ahead and he's growling and hair is out, but he's looking straight ahead. Just keep...
You can remote that.
Okay.
Yeah, to de-escalate that. I had another dog that was doing the exact same thing, a little chihuahua.
Okay.
So, even though obedience-wise he's technically not doing anything incorrect, behavior-wise he is.
Okay.
And you can always disagree with behavior, even if he's spot on, right? So I would just keep walking, and if you're at 16, I go tap tap, look at his hackles, and if you see everything resolve itself, you're good.
Okay.
So what he did was like, all right, like I'm walking with mom, but mom still disagrees with this particular behavior.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work, 20, 24, you know, find that number, and you should see the shift between the grumbling and the hackles going down, and when you hit that remote, he might even yip, and then as soon as he yips, you'll just see everything like settle, okay? And the more you want to do it immediately. The moment you see it start to happen, do it right there. Because if you give him like a 5-second to 10-second window, he'll take it.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
The quicker you can catch it, then he thinks to himself, not even worth doing this for a second. There's always a consequence.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Other questions?
No? I think that's it.
So we're going to go back on the recall stuff.
Okay.
To make this a little bit more realistic. Okay, now do you have anybody that could help you with this?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So what we can do if you have another person with you is you can use to recreate more realistic, right? If you're going to use a recall, it's typically Gilmore is chasing something. He's running towards something that's dangerous. Or he's like running away in flight mode, right? Is we want to recreate the running away aspect of the recall, okay? So if another person takes his red leash, what you want to do is practice the recall while the person is actually running with Gilmore, okay? Now we're going to try it first with walking, just to ease them into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Gilmore, and I'm going to be walking away from you, okay? And before your leash gets taut, I'm going to have you call him, and what we want to see is that without any leash tension, he will turn and go, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving, and at some point there's going to be tension that'll direct him. We'll keep practicing to see if we can create it, and then move on to the now I'm running with Gilmore. Okay?
Right.
I actually forgot what we were doing for a brief second. All right.
Friday. Gilmore, come. Should I keep practicing the moving?
We're good for that now. There we go.
Good boy.
Try it again. We'll do the recall a little sooner.
As soon as I see you walking, just...
About halfway through your leash. Okay, so 30 feet, so about 50 feet. All right, Gilmore.
Right.
We'll try to time it so that we don't get it here.
Gilmore, come.
Yep, back, tap, 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 tap. 3 more. That was a good one.
Gilmore, come.
Very good. And break.
16. Gilmore, come.
And last one.
Stop flying. Gilmore, come. Good boy.
Very good.
Good boy.
So that fourth one was actually a perfect one. Because he, right when he heard you cue him, he looked around and started moving towards you. The other ones are kind of a blend of him
Yeah.
being ready for it. So we're going to move to the running part.
Okay.
So same concept. You'll probably have to call him in a little sooner.
Okay.
Just because since we're moving faster, we're
Right.
going to move faster.
Okay.
But otherwise, he's doing really well with this. So that little, whether the anticipation or the fact that he's needy is benefiting you.
Good. Working together, buddy. Teamwork. Gilmore, come.
Good.
Good boy. Good boy. Break. Gilmore, come.
Good. Right.
Break. Gilmore, come. Caught you in mid-turn on that one.
What's up?
Caught him in mid-turn, so it's like naturally facing me. Good boy.
Right. 2 more.
Because of his anxiety,
Yeah.
is this actually the reason a muzzle is probably beneficial when you share this with new people?
Yeah.
Because he's gonna, fighting is just him kind of putting that stress somewhere else.
Yeah. So dogs relieve stress to the mouth, or like emotions, licking, panting, marking, chewing, biting, barking, salivating. It's a lot of mouth stuff. Okay. So when I come in and I assess aggression, it's not. I think when people think about aggression, like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, my dog hit me," but they're not aggressive, and I'm like, I know. Look at aggression as anger.
Okay.
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 People can get aggressive too,
Right.
but you want to say like yeah, I punched so-and-so, but I'm not aggressive. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you got emotional, things got escalated. You probably punched because you're pissed, right?
Yeah.
Same for the dog.
Okay.
So I feel like people treat aggression as a permanent trait. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, as opposed to like looking back at like why did it happen?
The situation, the context of it.
So when you see me, like you watch a consultation where I'm talking about a dog that bit people, I always go, what happened? What was the context? Oh, it was over food. Okay, so your dog's not human aggressive, your dog is resource guarded. Because I get that a lot. They'll say, my dog was human aggressive. Tell me what happened. I went to go move their bowl and it bit me. That's not human aggression. That's a resource guarder.
Yeah.
It just happened to be a human that went near the resource.
Got it.
Okay? So once you understand that, then I understand the context, right? And I go, well, it's not that the dog can be completely friendly everywhere else, but don't touch its feet. Does that make sense?
That's just his thing.
That's his thing, right? And we can address it, but now I know. I mean, I go, that's not an aggressive dog. An aggressive dog is a dog, in my opinion, that goes to aggression for anything whenever it can.
Okay.
You walk too close to me. You're touching me when I don't want you to touch me. You're getting near my food. You're yelling at me. You walked into my room. You know, like it's every little thing is met with aggression.
Okay.
Right? So, like for some people, there's people that go 0 to 10.
Yeah.
For the littlest things, right? So I would dub that like an angry person. Does that make sense? Because they do it very frequently, very easily. Whereas most people, we escalate. You know, something would maybe rub you the wrong way, and then maybe repeatedly from the same person over the course of time. Then one day you're like, I've had enough, and now you're super angry, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. Emotions are the same. They get anxious, we get anxious. They get nervous, we get nervous. They get scared, we get scared. They can get aggressive, we can get aggressive.
Okay.
Right? But for some reason with dogs, it's like this, you know, all dogs are friendly and amicable creatures. And then if you got one that's aggressive, the dog, it's a bad, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to looking at the whole picture. So, in terms of the anxiety stuff, what you can do is help them better handle that anxiety. To learn that there's healthier ways to express it, you know, just like panting and all that stuff. Like it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. More exposure, you know, building trust. Like you noted earlier about with me, or I think something about along the lines like, oh, is it because he saw you so many times that he just like welcomed you?
Yeah.
Right. It's completely normal because he's in a very primal black and white world. Okay. You know, when we're at the park, all these people here are just other people enjoying the park as well.
Right.
Right. He doesn't know that. In his world, it's kill or be killed. So like everything could be a potential threat. Okay? And I actually think like that now.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with dogs so much.
Yeah.
And then, like for instance, did you hear about like the issue with the off-leash dog at our facility?
At the facility, yes.
Yeah. Completely friendly dog, according to the owners. Okay.
Yeah.
And I go, we can't think like that. We have to perceive threat because we have dogs to care for.
Yeah.
If we assume, oh, friendly dog, and it's not friendly, or maybe not friendly in that moment, that affects us.
Right.
Does that make sense?
100%.
So, that's why I tell people you have to understand how they think. It like takes off so much of a stress because people are judging it by what people think dogs should be as opposed to what dogs actually are.
What they want the dog to be. Yeah.
Correct. Because we're so used to like it's so easy to obtain a dog and so easy to get rid of a dog. You know, and I think that's part of the process of like why people think that way. But like horses, like nobody would think that of horses, but horses require a lot more investment time-wise, education-wise, and money-wise in order for you to have one. So anybody, like nobody would just get a horse willy-nilly, you know? But dogs, you can't. And I feel like that's part of the problem of why people think the way they think about them, as opposed to understanding, yes, they're dogs, and yes, they go cohabit with us, and they live with us and stuff like that, but they're still a primal animal that would hunt and kill squirrels and rabbits and all that stuff if they wanted, and left to its own devices. You know, he's not meant to be eating kibble, or you know, what do you feed him?
Kibble and then raw.
Yeah. So you're, you know,
raw.
so you're meeting, you know, that primal need of raw food or what have you. I would love to do raw, but that's the other thing is like people feed dogs raw. I mean not raw, kibble. Like that's what they're meant to eat. I'm like, no, they're not meant to eat kibble. You know what I'm saying? It's like a really weird kind of disconnect. So a guy like him is just, he just needs a little more in order to get to trust. It's nothing bad.
So it's very much like the way that I've been explaining it to people I'm introducing him to. It's just like it's on his terms. So he has this habit of like, yes, he's doing with you, like he'll run towards you, But I've just been telling people just don't touch, like act like he's not there for like 5 minutes. Just don't touch him. I let him figures all himself out.
Okay.
And that seems to be working. I've noticed that when it's late, like when it gets dark, he gets super moody. And so even if he knows the person, he'll start growling a little bit. If they
Yeah,
kind of,
because there's, it's not uncommon how things look. You know, maybe
Okay.
you can't see very clearly.
Okay.
He'd rather be a step ahead. Because his genetic code is survive and replicate. And if he's been neutered, then it's just survive. Okay? That's his genetic code.
Yeah.
So if he's in a setting where he feels vulnerable, which is I don't have great visual, even though I've met you so many times, like that, like it's technically, in my opinion, a healthy way to think.
Right.
Because when people get too comfortable, that's when things typically happen. Like even with crimes, they say that someone robs you, it's typically someone you know, like more often than not, it's someone close to you.
Right.
You know, it's that comfort thing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like socializing and stuff with people, I will say I'm fine with how he's doing it with his personality type, but also don't be afraid to put it on your terms.
Okay.
Because if it's on his terms to say hi and to warm up to them, then it's on his terms to not like them.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
So how would I, obviously I'm there because I'm the one introducing him to people, but would it be like me being near him, like to show that it's okay?
So what I'll do is, like I'll give the person the leash, and like let's say the dog's, like Gilmore's with you, you would remote him to go to the person.
Okay.
So now it's being made to do it as opposed to choosing to do it.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a different, the way he perceived the situation is different because it wasn't by choice.
Right.
Right? Because like again, you can choose to like something and then one day choose to not like it.
Right.
Because that's on your terms. For dogs, yes, it's the same concept, but because of remote, we can also make it happen.
Okay.
So when I get dogs that are completely antisocial with people, like I'll try to pull them towards me, and they're bucking all over the place. They're like, I want nothing to do with you, right? So I'm physically trying to make them do it. Then I throw in the remote, and the dog goes, man, every time I move away from Jesse, this goes off, and I run to him, it goes away.
Yeah.
So it's technically on my terms,
Yeah.
but the dog doesn't know it.
Okay.
The dog just thinks if I run away, bad. When I go to Jesse, good.
Okay.
And I build trust that way,
Okay.
okay? So it's like I'll have the person crouch like this. I'm going to give a tap here. Tap. Tap. And then, like, you'll see them, like, tuck in and stuff, right? But he's thinking two things right now. He's thinking recall, but he assumed to go to me because of my positioning.
Okay.
Like, if you crouch down, dogs typically run to you, right?
Okay.
So his brain told him, Jesse's crouching, go say hi, but then he's like, wait a minute, was that a recall?
Okay.
So I braced for that. We tapped him,
Yeah.
tapped him again, and now he's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but I don't call him because then that becomes obedience.
Got it.
This is
Okay.
when I tell you to greet someone, you greet them. It's
Okay.
kind of like with kids.
Yeah.
Go say hi to grandpa.
Yeah.
Okay, go say hi to grandma. Okay. So,
Okay.
questions about that?
No. It's super helpful.
Ready? We'll do a couple more of me running away.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll see how much time we have and see if we can touch something on this. Okay. Break. Fine.
Gilmore, come.
Break it.
Break.
That's fine. Good. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why typically after a session, my clients will tell me the dog will knock out for like 3 to 4 hours. Yep. Because it's the mental game, but it's also the pressure. Because it's physical, contracting, right? So it's like wearing him down. Plus the emotional state, you know, it's a lot of stuff going on. It's normal.
Gilmore, come. What is that?
Call him Jordan.
Right.
Right.
You get some
Give him
custom
some Air
shoes.
Jordan those shoes. Very good.
Right.
So go ahead and put them in the heel.
Gilmore. Thank you.
Alrighty, so now what you have is one, you have the means of being more natural and organic with like a friend's dog, okay? Two, maybe you go to the park intending to practice recall and you have a friend to help you, but there's nothing going on, it's this, okay?
I'm running away.
Yeah, running around and stuff like that. And if what you can do to make it a bit more realistic, if you're gonna be there for a bit, is space them out. Because part of the anticipation is like we're doing it back to back to back to back, right? So technically not realistic at all, but obviously I have to teach you and to repeat you all that stuff.
He'll chase, so like if I throw sticks, but anything, he'll chase it. Is that a good idea as an enticer? No, because now he's not understanding play too.
But I wouldn't do a whole lot. I might do it randomly, because if you do it too much, it'll dissuade him from wanting to even go for the stick, because he's gonna assume you're gonna follow. Okay. Now, if he's got crazy ball drive, then you probably can just drill it out. Because I had a dog like that she had excellent ball drive, and I used that to help her recall, but she'd still want the ball. You know, like no matter how much I did it, she's like, give me that ball. Like she was a working type, like personality. So I leave that, to your assessment, but it doesn't hurt. Like if you're by yourself, just randomly you launch something, and as he's shooting for it, Gilmore come. Don't be surprised.
So don't let him get the ball. It's while he's in.
Oh yeah, that's why he's in pursuit. Right? That's why like if he's chasing squirrels, like the pursuit, because they're so zoned in, right? That if you can get them to detach and come to you, like that's spot on. Okay. Other questions?
No.
We've not gone over stay, right?
We tried it, and we learned it in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I have done it maybe 10 times in the last
Sure, it's okay.
So.
Stay is like the least useful command.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and do a review with that, because now you have three things. You have heel, come, and stay. That you can start blending them together with your long leash. Okay. So, in terms of, because you get up to off-leash obedience with this, like right now I tell you heel, and you walk to them as opposed to picking up your red leash, you're keeping the 30-foot leash, and there he is, right? To the point where you don't need the leash. And you can use it like on the trails and stuff. Is if you'd like to progress that, once I learn these three things, or I teach a client these three things, I start telling them, now start practicing that, because now you can get a stay and go 30 feet away as opposed to the 5 feet that we were doing before. Now I never do a recall from a stay if possible, okay? Because it's gonna, especially like a guy like him, he's gonna anticipate, okay? And he's gonna think, oh, as soon as you walk away, you're gonna call me. He's already gonna be running towards you, okay? But it's good. It actually should help with his anticipation, because everything's been return, but now it's going to be you don't. Okay?
Is that what he like? Does he just need something to busy his mind? So like, if me telling him stay, is that helpful for a dog with that much anxiety? Because it's like now I know where to put my thought, where to put my.
It depends on what's going on. I would say anxiety is really just, in my opinion, just discipline. Like, don't be anxious.
Yeah.
Right? So like, let's say you go to a vet clinic and right? I'll just shorten the leash, right? And I'll start remoting the dog and bumping it. And you'll see them going like, what do I do? And eventually like the brain will, like you'll get a yip. That's the frustration. And then they just lay down and relax. Because I just said, don't be anxious. I don't care what you do, but don't be anxious. And in response, he decides, I'm going to lay down. Okay? But I didn't tell him that. It's not a down command. It's a relaxed state, but it's in a down position. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, obedience is physical control. Behavior is mental control. Okay. Just so, like, I have a client right now. The dog in the car gets really worked up and whines and pines, kind of like that, and moves around a lot in the car. And we could teach him the down, but that would just be superficial, because the brain would still be anxious, but the body is laying down. So instead, I just remote the dog and I keep bumping it until the dog goes fine and stops being anxious and just relaxes. Okay, and then you get the residual anxiety because of the hit, not because of the car ride. Okay, so it's that's why, like, when dogs are being reactive, people are like, no, sit, right? Even if the dog sits, they're still going to be like this. It's all about cut the crap, relax, stay. Yeah. Okay. The stay is just control, right? If you're like need him to not move if something's going on. He's like, hey, don't move. Like, that's where it's coming into play. And it's learning how to switch modes when you're in obedience mode and when you're in behavior mode. And that's like a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say start thinking about that now. If Gilmore is doing something and you decide, I'm going to call Gilmore, I want you to think, is this an obedience or is this action for behavior? So if he's running around playing with his friends and you go, Gilmore, come, that was obedience. You just need him to return so that you could go home. If Gilmore is running towards the dog being reactive and you call him, it's obedience, but the moment was behavior. Does that make sense? Because you're doing that to stop the problem. But technically, it would just be correct the reactivity, and I don't call him, and he learns to tolerate the dog walking by and not blowing up. That's the difference. Okay, so like window, dogs bark out the window. Owner calls the dog. Dog goes back to barking at the window. Jesse, why does my dog do that? Like, because you called your dog, the dog did the task, but nothing said, don't bark out the window. So that's obedience to fix a behavior problem, when really it should have just been consequence to say, don't bark out the window. I don't care what you do, but don't bark out the window. That's the difference. Okay? It's super simple.
So we assume that it has to be a verbal command even to fix the behavior, when really it's just hitting it and they'll figure it out.
Yeah. You know, like you ever touch a hot stove?
Yeah.
Don't
touching it.
Yeah. There you go, right? And there may have been no, unless your mom was like, hey, don't touch the hot stove, it's hot, it'll burn you, right, as a kid. But other than that, if you do something, even something completely like, you know, maybe you turned a corner and you cut yourself because there's a nail sticking out. No warning, but now you've learned, crap, when I turn around this corner, I better watch out for that nail. Yeah. Because there's consequence, okay? Yeah. Same thing for the dog. When you say something, in my opinion, it's less effective because now it's cued. So if you say, no, stop barking when he's being reactive, and you use the remote, in his mind, he thinks I can bark until you say, no, stop barking. Okay. But if you just remote it, then he goes, crap, there's no warning. If I bark, this happens. So if I don't want to get remoted, I don't bark. Okay? So then we think about, do we want to control behavior or do we want to eliminate it? Controlling behavior is like barking at the front door when someone knocks. That's security. We don't want to kill that. We like that. So if he barks at anybody else and it lets you know someone's walking around the apartment, right? Or maybe when he's in the car, a suspicious person walks up, he starts barking. We don't want to kill that, but we may want to control it and shut it down when we don't need it anymore. But like barking on the leash towards dogs and passing or people running by is not wanted. We want to eliminate that. Okay? Other questions?
No, that makes sense.
So what we'll do here is I'll have you do like a little bit of a long leash heel, and then you'll come to a stop in the middle. Then I'm going to have you either shorten the black leash and grab higher or choke up on it, or grab your red leash to practice to stay and show me what you remember of it, okay?
Yeah. Stay.
Right there. Now what we're going to do, go to step back to the side. Good. And I'm going to have you shorten just a wee bit more. And let's pull it from out under, I think it's under his leg collar like that. Cool. Okay. So that was good. Instead of having you walk around, I had you move back in because you kind of did this. So I already saw the thought of like you wanted to move. But then also I saw the leash was under his paw, so if he broke position, when you go to try to correct it, it would have been ineffective and it would have been, he would have learned it. Okay? So I'm going to have you put him in the heel again. You'll do a quick little walk around like you did. And then your leash is good how you have it. And then we're going to do the stick. Okay?
Heel. Stay.
Good. Now here, right? Now relax a little bit. Good. Wait a moment. Go ahead and try to do a half move. Right. That's okay. Good. Yeah. Good. Half moon again.
You leave it relaxed when
Yeah. When he's not moving, you relax. That's good. And then back to the side. Tap, tap, tap. Good. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Try choking up a little bit higher on that leash. There you go. Try it again. Yep. Yep. Good. So let's do this. Go ahead and let your leash go. Drop your black leash. Swap to your red leash. Good. Go into the heel.
Okay.
And we'll try that again.
Heel.
Pivot. Good.
Stay.
Tap, tap. Go choke a little bit higher, close to the collar. There you go. Tap. Good. And then.
Do I repeat the command or no?
No, no, no.
Okay.
So, and then keep your left hand where you had, or yeah, your left hand where you had it. And then keep it relaxed, but keep it short. And then half moon.
Okay.
Tap. There you go. Tap. Good. Tap, tap, tap. There you go. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. What's your number right now?
16.
Let's go at 20.
Do the whole process again?
No, continue with your half moon like you were right now. Tap. Good. Tap. Good. You got it. Tap. Tap. There's your gym buddy. Good. Yep, you got it. Tap. Tap. Right there. Now relax. Wait a moment. So, what's happening is, as you're trying to get him to sit, you keep moving.
Okay.
So it keeps drawing him to you. So what you want to do is like this, where you're stretching out and you're keeping him back. And you
Okay.
want to resolve this first, and then you can relax and then start moving. Okay, so we'll go ahead and reset. Go into the heel.
Heel.
Good.
Stay.
Choke up closer. There you go. And then just back away from him, like that. There you go. Up. And what you're gonna do is so closer, like you were. Okay. And then yeah, just like that. How you backed up right there. So you just went like this. Okay. And now it's super awkward in the beginning, right? But the reason why he's having such a problem is because of all the recall and all the heel that we've been doing, right? So his brain keeps thinking tap means to go to mom, and we're teaching him no. Right now, tap means just to keep where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So and then this is obviously that's what's indicating this is what you're supposed to be doing. It's leading him.
It's not allowing him to get back, right? Because every time he lands here, he thinks that's the answer. So when you're remoting him and you're keeping him away from you, he's trying to get to you, but that's not working. And then he puts his butt down, and then everything relaxes. He goes, oh. The whole time I thought it was this, but really it's just stay where I'm at. Okay. There you go. It's a little better. Go ahead and go back to his side. Right there. Phrase, attaboy.
Good boy.
Try that again. Heel.
Heel. Stay.
Good. That was better. You got it. That was better. Tap. Okay. Good. Better. Back to the side. There you go.
Good boy.
Let's try that again.
Heel. Stay.
He thought about it. Good. Right. He wants to. Good. Try to do a full circle going in the direction you are. Then back to the side. So Did you see him lift up his paw?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, okay, not like paw to move, but paw like the brain was getting anxious and thinking like, oh, do I go with her, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the short leash. So with the long leash, we would have progressively built it, right? So this is not uncommon because we did a lot of recall. He's thinking, come back, come back, come back. Now we're going conflicting topic, and we're going, now you don't come back, now you just stay where you are.
Yeah.
Is with the long leash, you know, we would have done the same thing where you shorten it. We do a few reps. We don't just automatically walk 30 feet away. We have to build from that, okay? So if you ever see he's having trouble with something, I always go back to previous steps. So like here, I'd go back to the short leash.
Okay.
Like get this familiar again, right? And then it's like, okay, now let's apply this to the long leash.
Okay.
Start short, have it choked up high, warm them up first, and then gradually feed leash as you give space. But I wouldn't go from, 6 feet to 30 feet. It'd be 6
Right.
feet to 8 feet to 10 feet,
Okay.
15
Okay.
feet to 20 feet, and you build on that.
Okay.
So I would revisit this. If you can't, just incorporate it on the walks.
Yeah.
You don't have to set up a stay training time. Just whenever you're walking, put a stop sign, put a stoplight. After he poops, stay, picking up the poop type of stuff. Just finding a little place where you can incorporate it, where you're teaching him like, hey bud, like remote doesn't always mean come to me. Sometimes it might mean like stay.
On the couple times that we've done it, it is usually when he poops. He will, but then again, I mean, it's what, 3 feet that he's sitting here, he's fine. But then as soon as he sees me stand up, he pops up.
Yeah, you would correct that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I would do there is the moment that happens, start tapping. He's probably going to run to you, okay, because you don't have your leash set up. If you can do that, that would be great. It's okay if he moves. It's not okay if he moves to you.
Got it.
You're just trying to get him to sit back away from you.
Okay.
And then once that happens, you relax the tension and do whatever it is whether you're doing. Okay. If you do tap him and he comes to you, then I'll keep remoting, and I'll bring him over to the general space and pull up and tap him into that position without repeating anything. Give the slack and step away. Okay. But it's best if you can get him to not get close, not return to you, and just sit back where he was. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect positioning, but just not near you.
Cool.
Anything else?
No. Our next session is in 2 days. Is that fine?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is this for Sunday?
Yeah.
What would you want to cover?
I guess it would still be, and I know that it's difficult to do that because it's not like we have other dogs here. You heard him kind of start heavily panting.
Yeah, whining, yeah.
So I don't, is that something that we can, I know that that's very much to the discretion of another dog owner, but just moving him from this, kind of getting him in areas of other dogs, is that anything that...
Like getting him to socialize with the dog, or getting him...
Not socialize, just walking him toward wherever another dog is, just so we can, because he starts that kind of growling and that heavy panting. And just
are you moving or are you stepping aside?
In the instances at home, we're stepping aside.
Okay, so you are stepping aside. Okay,
Yes.
so you stepped aside and you're seeing this start to happen, and you're correcting it.
Yes.
What's the highest you've gone?
Into the 30s. Because even and that was one time I got that high. Usually he's watching the dog, he starts it, I'll hit it, and it's like that little yip, and then it's between my legs.
Okay. At what number?
16, 18.
Okay. So, but you keep having to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because now he's between my legs, growling.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so what I would do is don't let him go between your legs.
Okay.
Because that's seeking comfort.
Okay.
So I would shorten my leash, and I would anticipate he's going to tuck in. So I can be like this as I remote him, and you're trying to keep him out of that space.
Okay.
Out of here. Okay. So with puppies, they'll hide underneath the owner in their chair.
Yes.
And they're shivering, and I'll tell the owner plop them out with all the puppies, and force them to be in that social context. Okay. So it's kind of like if you're at a party and there's someone you don't want to talk to, you avoid their bubble.
Yep.
So he's avoiding that dog's bubble by kind of bending between your legs.
Okay.
So then you're not allowing him that shelter. Anyway, nope, you're going to stick right here, you're going to cut the crap, and you're going to handle it. Okay. If you do 16 and he yips and he shuts up, then it'll go great. But if that's not working and you've gone as far as 30 and it's not working, then I think maybe 35.
Okay.
So what it might be is I prepare for it.
Because he's yipping, but he's still doing it.
Yes.
So I don't know. Okay.
So it doesn't always mean he's in discomfort.
Okay.
it cannot mean that the brain's just frustrated.
Okay.
Okay, so then I go tap on 35, I get a yip, and if I get completely relaxed state, then I go, it was one hit on 35. Okay, because the yip is a deterrent for a lot of people, because ideally we don't want that, but in some cases, especially if he's really kind of revved up, that's what will happen. So then I just keep escalating it, and so eventually you might be at 95 before you see that shift in behavior. But I give one tap and they go, what's your response? And if he's still grumbling and growling, then I go to 40. Tap, what's your response? Still grumbling, tap, 45, boom. Until you find that breaking point where he goes, okay, fine, I'll let it go. But you also want to make sure that you don't allow him, because this makes him more confident.
Okay.
Okay, because he's covered, like and he also has something that he needs to, or that he feels he should protect.
Okay.
So keeping him out in that space where he's vulnerable, that, and then playing with the number. Okay. It's recreating it. I thought you were talking about like having someone come to socialize it. I'm like, oh yeah, like we can try to organize. I just did that right before you.
Okay.
So that we can create. It's just we have to find someone. Which I have like a handful of people, so then it's just coordinating times.
Okay.
If it's like in the neighborhood and stuff, what we can try to do is have you met Enrique?
Yes, I believe he'll do cameras.
Yeah, he's one of my junior trainers.
Okay.
And I'm just starting to send him off on. Oh yeah, just needed this thing. Keep that for a second. Thank you. I can see if we can schedule something where we can come out by you.
Okay.
If there's a time where it's really busy.
Okay.
And then he can help you with that.
Okay.
Because I'm like Tuesdays and Thursdays are filling up with clients here.
Yeah.
So my availability is slim, but now I'm setting him up to do all those little things.
Okay.
It'd be a complimentary session.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Okay.
And he needs to learn stuff too.
Okay.
So it'll be good for him.
Cool.
But he's got enough insight that he should be able to help you.
Okay.
And then in regards for Sunday's thing, what I would probably cover is a stationary command.
Okay.
If there's nothing behaviorally that you need to work on. If you wanted to work on how do I socialize a dog with another dog, and like how do I do that, like the more natural way to a dog, then I could show you that as well.
Okay.
And then, but that we'd have to plan probably for like the 6th one or something.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll do the stationary command this coming Sunday, and then can we?
Sure.
For the
So, are you available on a Friday again?
this coming Friday, no, but the following, yes.
Okay. Because I have a client that meets just before you.
Okay.
And I can ask her to see if she'd be willing to stick around.
Cool.
To help socialize, because her dog needs socialization as well. So I'm going to assume she's all for it.
Cool, that'd be awesome.
Okay, because I think she said she's off school or something for like 2.5 weeks too.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
And then don't forget your poop
Thank
bag.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
You too.
Yeah.